This is episode 37 of the Life in Norway show. More and more foreigners living in Norway are sharing their experiences on YouTube. I already spoke to one of them, Pame, in episode 22. Today, I'm speaking to another. This episode is a little delayed because of all the disruption caused by the coronavirus outbreak. We actually recorded this episode a couple of months ago now, long before the virus arrived in Norway. I wanted to mention that just in case you're wondering why such a big event wasn't even mentioned in the interview. You can hear my thoughts on the current situation in Norway in the previous episode, number 36. Anyway, back to today. Mon moved from Portugal to study in Norway in 2014 and didn't go back. Today, she works as an architect in Oslo and has built a substantial following on YouTube by sharing her thoughts about living here in Norway. We talk about the differences between life in Portugal and life in Norway, how she has found a job as an architect, and dig into the details of some of her most popular videos. You can find out more information on today's show on the show notes page at lifeinnorway.net/podcast and look for episode 37. Happy listening. I'd like to welcome Mon to the latest episode of the Life in Norway show. She works in Norway as an architect and a filmmaker, has a really good YouTube channel on Norway, which I'm sure we'll talk about in the minutes to come. Mon, welcome to the show.
Hi, David. Thank you so much for having me.
No problem at all. It's good to virtually meet you.
Yeah.
Tell us, first of all, what brought you to Norway in the first place?
Well, I was in the university in Portugal, in Lisbon, studying architecture. I was in my bachelor, and the opportunity to make an exchange year or semester came up, and it wasn't really my plan. Like, I wasn't thinking much about that, but when the teacher talked to me about it, I was really excited. I always loved to travel and to know new cultures. So it was just one more opportunity to do that. And so I chose Norway. I chose Trondheim. So I went to NTNU as an Erasmus Plus student because I wanted to learn more about timber construction. So to learn more about wooden houses, because in Portugal, we don't really learn about that. We build mostly in bricks and concrete. So that was why I chose Norway, really. Also because it was far away and different from my country and had like snow and stuff like that. But it was mostly because of architecture.
That's an interesting choice, Trondheim. Obviously, that's where I live, but you're not in Trondheim anymore, is that right?
No, not anymore. I was there for my exchange, like as a student, and then I moved to Oslo. I met my boyfriend while we were exchange students at the same time in Trondheim. And then we decided to come to Oslo and find an internship before going back to Portugal, because he's also Portuguese. So we did that. We found an internship here in Oslo, and we ended up staying until now.
Portugal, Norway, you've already alluded, it's very different places. You've mentioned architecture, of course, which a lot of people don't mention, but the architecture is certainly different. What are the other main differences that you notice moving from Portugal to Norway?
Well, I think there's many differences, but the biggest one for me is the way of life. Because, well, in Portugal, during the week, you mainly work. So you wake up, go to work in the morning, and then maybe your schedule is supposed to be until 6 or 7, but you end up getting much later home, have dinner, and go to bed. Basically, that's it until you get to the weekend. And here you have such a different way of living. You have more time after work because you end up getting off work quite early and have all of this time during the week to do what you like. You have just so many possibilities during the week as well. And when you get to the weekend, then you can even enjoy it more because you don't have all of those things you couldn't do during the week, to do at the weekends. So I really think life here is more relaxed and you enjoy it more. And another big difference is the weather, of course.
Of course.
Yeah, I come from a very warm, sunny country, especially in summer. Come from, I was raised closer to the beach, so my whole life was spent close to the beach. So warm, sunny summer days and rainy, coldish winters. And here it's like the summers are maybe spring in Portugal, not even that sometimes.
Mm.
And winters are so extreme, so much snow and so cold and little light. So it was definitely an adjustment I had to do to make.
What's the biggest difference then? Is it the mild summers and you miss the heat of the summer more, or do you miss the mild winters from Portugal more?
I miss the summers. I miss the 40 degrees, but I'm used to you travel outside of Oslo when it's summer to go to a warm place. So that's okay with me. And I quite enjoy winters here now because I learned how to ski. So that part of the whole year really changed for me, winter, because now I really can enjoy it and go out and ski and go to the snow. So I think now I'm a little bit more used to it and I can enjoy this both worlds in a way. It's just like the November month for me is the worst because it's just nothing happens. It's so gray, no snow and no light, so dark. So that's the worst.
Absolutely. Congratulations on mastering skiing.
Yeah, thanks. It wasn't easy.
No, it isn't as an adult, I think. I think that's something that Norwegians don't appreciate. They all learned when they were children when you have that sort of no fear attitude, but trying to learn to ski as an adult is much more difficult.
Yeah, much more difficult. I learned first downhill, but I think what really like puts Norwegians excited about when I talk about it is more I learned cross country, and that is like
Mm.
whoa, this Portuguese girl who never saw snow before coming to Norway just learned cross country and now goes on this long cross country tours. So that for me was a very big accomplishment.
So I understand, Mon, you're now working as an architect in Oslo. Interested to know a couple of things: what that's like, what the atmosphere is like in the office, and the kind of projects you work on, but also how it was finding a job as a foreigner in Oslo.
Yeah, so finding a job for me was easy in a way because first I had the internship and then I studied here. I finished my master's here in Oslo. So I had this background already from Norway. And so it was much easier for me to enter the system. So I found a job quite rapidly after I finished studies. But what was difficult was to go in the system, like go into the system. Getting an internship was so difficult. We knocked so many office doors just to get the opportunity to talk with them and show them our portfolio.
Mm.
And it was hard. It was really hard. At the end, I managed an internship, but it wasn't very well paid. But I just got the opportunity, and I was happy for it. But I can imagine that it's very difficult for many people to get into the system. I think you just have to get in, and then when you're in, you're in. But getting in is quite hard, I think. Working in the office is great. I really love what I do. I work mostly with educational buildings, so I design schools and universities, that kind of thing. It's really stress free, I think, at least comparing to Portugal or things I hear from my friends in Portugal. I think it's quite stress free here. But I also think architects don't have such a big role here in Norway. I think they have less power because the entrepreneur here, the constructor is the person who has more power on the decisions and what to do. So I think in Portugal, architects can decide more on the building itself and maybe do things a little bit more artistic in a way. But yeah, I'm loving working here, so no complaints.
Excellent. And how about living here in Oslo? What's a typical day like for you in the capital?
Yeah, typical day. I would wake up, go to work. When I leave work, I either come home to edit my videos because I have a lot of editing to do, or I'm also part of a choir group. Last year, I started in a Norwegian choir. We sing like songs, so that's also a big part of my week now. And on weekends, we like to go away on tours, so cabin trips and things like that.
It sounds like you've embraced Norwegian life, tours, skiing.
Yeah, quite a lot.
So
that's true. Yeah.
Yeah, excellent. You mentioned coming home to do some filming and editing. So let's talk about YouTube. Now, I have a few videos out on YouTube, but really it's podcasting and running of a website that I spend my time on. I'm a little envious of those who are confident enough to put themselves in front of the camera. So congratulations on building such a big channel.
Thank you.
One of a few YouTubers now that I've spoken to. It's a really interesting area. There are a lot of people making videos about Norway and about Scandinavia on YouTube. So just tell us the story. What made you start the channel and how have you managed to grow it into the channel it is today?
Yeah, well, it all started when we moved to Oslo because we really didn't know anyone. And my boyfriend was working a little bit later than me, so he would come home later. And I would stay all of these hours without anything to do, really. And I was getting a little bit depressed in a way, a little bit bored. And I was watching these YouTubers. I had a couple of them that I watched at the time that I really feel they were kind of like my companionship during those hours. And I told this to my boyfriend, and he told me that maybe it's something I would like to do because I always love to film things. I was always filming stuff. And I love to take photos. And even when I was a kid, I would have like this little camera and do movies, kind of like vlogs. YouTube didn't exist at the time, but I have some vlogs made when I was like maybe 12 or 13 years old. So I thought it was maybe a good idea, and we decided on a subject because I love to cook. So my channel actually started as a recipe channel, so a dessert channel. I would do recipes of Portuguese desserts, and it was quite nerve-wracking at the beginning because I never talked to a camera like that. So I was definitely nervous. And then I think at a certain point I uploaded a video of me talking about my moving to Norway, and basically there was a lot of interest in that video. A lot of people were commenting, and it gained a lot of views very quickly. And so I thought, okay, maybe people are interested to know more about Norway and my life here and how I moved. And I started to make more videos about Norway and also travel videos because, as I said, it's a big passion of mine is traveling. So that's my channel now.
Excellent. And does that include travel around Norway, or are you more elsewhere?
Yeah, I've been more elsewhere because Norway was quite expensive for me at the beginning. But now I'm starting to travel more in Norway, and I have a couple of trips planned for Norway this year, big trips. So I'm really excited for that.
Excellent. Well, I look forward to watching those.
Yeah.
I will include, of course, links to your channel and some of the videos we talk about in the show notes.
Thank you.
I want to take a deep dive into some of those videos. So if people are, people listen to podcasts when they're out jogging or they're at the gym or something like that. So they might not be able to watch the videos right now. So let's talk about some of the most popular ones. One that caught my eye was, the title of it was "Things That Surprised Me in Norway." Can you talk a little bit around that video?
Yeah, sure. So that's a video. Basically, when I tell I'm Portuguese and people know I'm living here, they normally ask me for weird stuff that happen, or, oh, what do you think it's weird, or what's the biggest differences, or something like that. So I kind of thought that it was a funny video to do, just gather some of those things in one video and talk about them. I know a lot of people were very shocked when I said that I think in Norway people don't really use microwaves or don't have one. That was like a big thing in my comment section. And I say this because every time we moved to a different house, of course, it was rented, there was no microwave, which is not normal at all in Portugal. And and also when I go visit someone to someone's house, they normally don't have a microwave, or if they have it, they don't really use it. I think a lot of Norwegians are a bit against the microwave. They think it's not healthy or it's not good for you or something like that. So that was one of the things.
I've never come across that myself. We have a microwave. I
Yeah.
never really thought about not having one, like you say, but I can't. Now you say it, I can't really think about whether my Norwegian friends have a microwave or not.
Yeah.
And yeah, interesting. Okay, what else surprised you?
I think one thing that really surprised me, and maybe it's weird, is that if you have a king size bed or like a big bed for two people, um, Norwegians have two separate duvets, so
Right.
they have their own duvet, and I have never ever seen that before in my whole life. In Portugal, you just have like a big duvet for both people. And for me, it really represents how Norwegians are in a way, because they sleep together and they are very close to each other, but they still need their own space in their own duvet, they need their they separate things in a way, which I think is
You
quite
know,
funny.
you know what? I've lived in Norway for a long time now, and it's these things that I don't think about when someone asks me what's different, because I'm so used to it. And I have
Yeah.
to admit that we do the same thing now. But I really like it, and I think it's a great idea. But like you, I hadn't come across it at all until I moved here. And I remember seeing a friend of mine's house for the first time, and I got the tour, and I noticed there were two
Yeah.
single duvets, and I thought, oh, that's strange. They must have not the best relationship or
Yeah,
something like that.
exactly.
But
Exactly.
you soon realize it's totally normal. And actually, no, I do it myself now, and yeah, I think it's a really good idea.
Yeah, now that I know of it, I can understand why, and it can be handy. I can understand that, but I don't think I will ever convert.
Fair enough. Okay, Mon, another video. Let's see, which one shall I choose. I want to hear about the mistakes you made while living in Norway. I think this one particularly has a high view count.
Yeah, yeah, that video is also something that comes up a lot with friends or people, and especially in parties when you're telling like stupid stories or embarrassing stories about yourself. And for me, I think the biggest mistake, and it's the most awkward one, it's that I wanted to go ski, and it was one of the first times I did it, downhill ski. And renting the equipment is quite expensive. So I thought that maybe it would be a good idea to buy second-handed equipment in like online. So I
Hmm.
went online and found these really cheap ski boots. They were nice, and I was so happy, and I bought them. And I was just so happy that I made a good deal. And then we went downhill, and I had to rent just the skis. And when I tried the boots on the skis, they weren't fitting. So I thought that was strange, of course, but I thought it was just a mistake that the guy who rented me the skis did made or something like that. So I went back and told the guy, like, look, friend, thanks so much, but this is not working. Something is not right. And he's like, okay, give me your boots. I will try to fix it. And he just looked at me with the most judgy face. I don't know how to explain, but it was terrifying. And he told me just like, of course it doesn't work. These boots are for cross country ski, not
Oh
downhill
yeah.
ski. And I was so confused because at that point I had no idea that cross country was a thing. Ski for me was ski, and that was it.
Mm.
I didn't know that there were two different boot types. I had no idea. So it was just so embarrassing. And at the end, it was good because now I do cross country and I use those boots, but the whole thing was very embarrassing.
I'm sure you are not the only person to have made that mistake.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure. Yeah, it felt like I was.
Okay, Mon, I won't ask you about any more mistakes. I don't want to embarrass you anymore on the show. So if people are interested, they can go watch the video for themselves.
Sure.
So I picked out those two videos, things that surprised me in Norway, mistakes I made while living in Norway. Is there another one that is a particular favourite of yours, regardless of how many views it's had?
I'm not, I really, I mean, I love my vlog videos in general because I think those are the ones that I can go back, look back and remember the whole experience. So the travel videos and the vlog videos are my favorite for sure. Maybe I have a vlog where we went canoeing in Moss, so here near Oslo, and it was really nice. We rented a canoe and we took the tent with us, and we just canoed our way into like an island in the middle of a lake and slept there. We camped there for the night, and it was summer, so you have sunlight until very, very late. So it was just so, so nice. So I think that's my all-time favorite video.
Lovely. Mon, we are almost out of time. People can find out more information about you and everything we talk about on the show today on the show notes page, which will be at lifeinnorway.net/podcast. But before we go, I have 3 questions that I ask every guest here on the Life in Norway show. Just some quick answers, please, Mon. What's the best thing about living in Norway?
The best thing is leaving work early and the closeness with nature and the outdoors.
What do you find most challenging about living in Norway?
Most challenging is, well, it's definitely being away from my family, not having my friends and family from Portugal close to me. And especially when I'll start a family myself and have kids, I think that will even be worse, not having them close by.
Okay, last question. What's your favourite place in Norway, whether that's a whole town or a special spot somewhere?
Oof, that's very, very difficult to answer because I feel like I haven't traveled enough in Norway to answer that. But I really loved our travel to the south coast. So like Kragerø and Kristiansand, I like that. But I think my favorite spot in Oslo would be Bygdøy and the beaches in Bygdøy.
Excellent. Mon, where can people find out more about you and watch some of your videos?
Yeah, I'm on YouTube. My YouTube channel is Mon Ami, and I'm also on Instagram with the same name, and I have a website called Mon Ami Travel.
That's great, Mon. Thanks for joining us today.
You're welcome. Thank you for inviting me.